Right guys, hello and welcome to another video, and this time it's an exciting one. We're heading off to Sandhurst Lake in Yateley for the Pure Bait Concepts social, and I'm going to be taking you through all my tactics and tips for winter fishing at this famous iconic venue. I've never been there before, but I've done a lot of research online, watched a lot of videos, etc., and I think I know kind of roughly how I'm going to fish it. I think I'm sort of 6th or 7th out the draw from about 15 guys. So I've got a reasonable chance of getting in one of the swims that I want to get in, but we'll have to wait and see. So I'm just on the ferry now from the Isle of Wight over to the mainland in Southampton, and then I've got about an hour's drive from there. So I'm going to be setting off in a minute. We're just docking on the ferry terminal, going to be driving up, and then when we get there I'm going to find my swim, you know, get set up and everything, and then I'll talk you through sort of where I'm fishing, and then later in the video we'll be talking tactics, and hopefully there'll be a fish or two along the way, and hopefully we'll have a good social with the guys. We're still on sort of coronavirus restrictions, so we can't be too social, but as long as we keep our distance and keep to groups of 6, then we should be fine. So got a couple of nights ahead of us, really looking forward to it. It's probably my last session before Christmas. We're in December now. So yeah, we'll get to the lake and then we'll catch up to you when we know what we're doing. Right then, here we are guys, Yateley at Sandhurst Lake, really famous day ticket water. There can't be many carp anglers who haven't heard about this place and seen videos and seen pictures of some of the awesome fish that swim in here. So I'm really excited, although I've been told it's been fishing really hard, just one fish out over the last couple of days, so it's not going to be easy. So I'm going to be doing everything I can to kind of give myself the best chance of a fish. I'm going to show you my tactics and my thinking process all the way through to hopefully try and nick one of these fish over the next 48 hours. So we arrived, all the guys from Pure Bait Concepts turned up, and we had a bit of a walk around the lake. I was a little bit later than everyone else because I had to drive up from Southampton, but I caught up with the guys around in the pipe swim, really famous Sandhurst swim, and that was the only swim that's done a fish over the last couple of days, and that went first on the draw. So we did the draw kind of before we got here, and we just had numbers really, and then you took it in turns to pick your swim based on kind of where you wanted to be, and I actually in my head wanted to be in swim 11, and luckily enough I was 7th out the draw and I managed to get swim 11, so really happy with that. Reason being is that I don't think it's heavily fished this swim, but it's still got those nice deeper depressions out in front of it, and I've seen a couple of videos of people doing well in this swim, so I thought, you know, it's a good shout really. It's on the road bank, so you can conveniently park your car behind the swim and dump everything off before you go and put your car back in the car park and dip your nets, etc. So more than happy with my swim choice. I think I've seen a little bit of movement, fairly short range when I got in the swim, everyone seems to think, you know, fish 80, 90 yards out in the middle. I did see at about 40, 50 yards range a couple of little swirls when I got here, which makes me think I'm going to have at least one rod a little bit shorter and see if I can nick a fish that's maybe been pressured out of the middle of the lake where everyone seems to fish. So I'm going to crack on. I'm going to try and find some spots with the marker rod and get clipped up, and then I'm going to be sorting my rigs out, so I'll show you my rigs and everything just before I cast out, and then hopefully something will happen the rest of today, but we've got 2 nights ahead, so there's plenty of time yet. Let's keep everything crossed and let's get on with it. Right, welcome back guys. So the last sort of 45 minutes to an hour or so, I've just been having a lead around with marker rod and a marker float as well, just trying to find any sort of variation out there, because it is quite uniform close in. You know, you've got 4 or 5 foot kind of gravelly most places that went, and then a bit further out it just drops down into 6 foot and goes a little bit softer, a little bit siltier, but still nice and clear and smooth. So I think what I'm going to do is fish 2 rods in that sort of area. It's about 21 1/3 wraps, and it is just a little bit deeper and a little bit sort of less gravelly, because I think gravel's too obvious, and natural food sort of lives in the silt and everything. So I've gone in the silt, slightly deeper water, and I'm just going to have 2 rods at that range, and then I think I've seen the odd little ripple closer in, about sort of 40, 50 yards. So I'm going to have 1 rod just on a single out there. I'll show you the rig just before I cast it out, and my other 2 rods are going to be on solid bags, so I'll show you those kind of before I cast them out as well. Now the bait mix that I'm using in the bags is going to be a mixture of amino ester oily crumb and 2 mil amino ester pellets, and then some of the amino ester prep powder as well. That's my sort of dry ingredients, if you like. And then to that I'm going to add some of the hydro nut haze, which is like a cloudy food liquid, which would hopefully make a bit of a cloud near the bottom, and some condensed milk, because that again, it's nice and sweet, but it leaves a good cloud as well, so hopefully sort of brings the fish in from a little bit further away, and creates a bit of a cloud so they feed a bit more confidently. And while they're not really sort of feeding very hard, it's good to kind of give them something a bit different. You know, everyone's probably fishing boilies and pellets and things, and I just think a little bit of boilie crumb with a bit of a cloud and some tiny pellets just for keeping them grubbing in the area could just be a good thing. So I'm going to get on with that now. I'm going to warm up the condensed milk and add the hydro nut haze to it, and then I'm going to mix that through my boilie crumb with my pellet and my prep powder, and that's going to be my bag mix. And if the fish start feeding, I can always spawn that out as well, but I'm just going to start with bags and just try and nick a bite and hope for the best. So I'll get this all sorted now. I'll show you my rig for in my bag and my pop-up rig and everything, and then I'll get some rods out, and that'll be us for the day. And all that will be left to do is watch the water and keep an eye out for showing fish, and hopefully we'll see something in the next 24 hours or so. So I'm going to get cracking guys, get some rods out, and I'll speak to you this evening before it gets dark. Right guys, just going to make up my solid bags now, but I thought I'd show you the rig inside. It's nothing complicated. It's basically a size 6 angling iron curve shank hook, knotless knotted, and then I've got a shot on the hair just to balance that 14mm pop up there. That's a new high attract test bait from Pure Bait Concepts, hopefully going to be coming out sometime next year, but it's basically like a high attract sort of fruity pop up, and that's going in with my mix of the boilie crumb and all those liquids and everything, and that should just sit nicely kind of up in the mix like that, and then as the fish picks it up, the hook will drop down nicely, and I've got a bit of putty on there just to help that hook drop. So hopefully that's the perfect sort of setup for the solid bags. So I'm going to get 2 tied up now, and then I'm going to sort out a pop-up rig. Right guys, good morning. Apologies I didn't get to film before it got dark yesterday. We actually had quite a lot of rain, and then as we were on a bit of a social, you know, we got together and had a couple of beers and stuff, as you do, and I didn't really get round to it, and it got dark really quick. You know, we're in December now, so it was getting dark sort of 3:45, 4 o'clock, so I didn't get much chance to speak to you and tell you the rest of my sort of tactics for the night. But we've had a bit of a change of plan. So yesterday I said that I was going to fish 2 solid bags and a pop-up. Well, there's actually been a couple of fish caught around the lake on the solid bags, so I'm actually going to put all 3 rods on solid bags. I was having a bit of trouble yesterday getting them out to the distance that I want to get, because I'm just not used to casting that far. Most of the waters I fish close to home are kind of 2 acres, and you know, I'm trying to hit sort of 85-90 yards with a heavy solid bag, and my rods are quite soft. So what I've done is I've tied some fresh bags this morning. Nothing happened through the night. I've just tied up some fresh bags, and we've got a bit of a break in the rain now, so I'm going to put these out. They're a bit smaller, these bags, so hopefully I can get them out a bit easier to the spots that I want to reach, and then we'll be leaving them out for the rest of the day and possibly the night as well, because there's no point redoing them if they're out there and they're sitting nicely. There's no weed or anything in here. It's pretty clear lake bed, so once the rigs are out you might as well just leave them, and hopefully a fish will come along and find them at some point. Up until recently there was no fish caught on this bank. All the fish have been on the far side in the pipe swim, the secret swim in the corner there, and kind of opposite me there was a fish caught, so I think there was 3 or 4 over that side. But then this morning Miles, who's 2 swims up to my left, had a double take and landed a sort of a 15-16 pound simo, and unfortunately lost the second one. But it just shows that the fish are getting caught around the lake. They're not all in one area, they're sort of dotted about, and there's been a couple of shows out to my left this morning as well. So I think I just need to redo everything, have a bit of a reset, make sure I'm fishing effectively, and get those rigs out as far as I can, because it seems to be that sort of deeper channel in the middle is where the fish are patrolling up and down, and where my rigs were landing a bit short yesterday, I was losing the light. I sort of wasn't that confident in them, and I kind of just left them, and you know, surprise surprise, nothing happened. But I think today, if I really blast them out there and get them out onto that deeper water, I'm in with a good chance if I leave them out and sit on my hands. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Simple solid bag tactics with that boilie crumb mixed with the liquids that I showed you and the pellets, and then I've just got those little test bait pop-ups on the rig with a shot to balance it down, so it's not actually popped up. It's just more like a wafted presentation with a curve shank hooks. It's a bit like a KD rig, but I've just knotted it because I don't really like the way the KD rig allows the hook to turn back on itself, so when the carp sucks it in, the hook could be facing completely the wrong way. I like to just knot it, and so that when the carp sucks it in, the hook still hangs down like you want it to, but it can only really go in sort of the bend of the hook first, so it's pointing the right way when the fish kind of moves and you know, tries to blow it out. I've got a little bit of putty on that rig as well, just to help drop the hook. So I feel like everything is as effective as it can be. I just need to kind of get out to the spots now, so I'm going to be putting all my effort into getting the rods out properly this time. Didn't really go very well yesterday, but I was a bit rushed. You know, we were losing the light, everyone was kind of coming around for a social, and yeah, I sort of ended up just kind of pub chucking them, which isn't how I like to fish normally. So yeah, we've got clear skies now, that rainstorm has passed, so it's a good time to get the rods out now and then see what the rest of the day brings. Right then guys, so another little update for you. I was chatting to the bailiff earlier, who just comes round on quite a regular basis to just check that we're all behaving ourselves, and he gave me a couple of pointers. He said that while the fish aren't particularly feeding hard at the moment, we need to be fishing very, very small little bags and very, very small baits and small hooks. So instead of the solid bags that I had planned to get out, I've actually gone for tiny, tiny little mesh bags. They're about the size of, say, a 20p or something like that. And then on the hook I've got a 12mm amino ester boilie tipped with half an amino ester white pop-up, and I've trimmed that down a little bit as well, just so it's even smaller. And then I've just put a tiny mesh bag of that mix of boilie crumb and all the liquids and everything, and then I've just banged them out there. I've got all 3 rods out now. You might see down here all at 21 1/3 wraps, just where it drops off into that slightly deeper water. So it's quite shallow out in front, sort of 4 or 5 foot, and then it drops into sort of 6 or 7 foot. So I'm just over the edge of where it drops off. And I've actually put bat leads on now because my lines were getting pulled by the toe in the water, and all my bobbins had sort of pulled up tight and the lines were sort of bowing round to the right. So put bat leads on to keep the lines low, and also that sort of helps you avoid spooking a fish. But also, if you do get lucky enough to hook a fish, it keeps the lines out of the way as well. So in the middle of the night, if I have to run out to land a fish, at least I know no lines are in the way, and I've got the best possible chance of landing one, because we're running out of time now. It's the second afternoon, we've got 1 night left, and we've got to be off at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So it's getting quite tight. We've had lots of rain again, although it's beautiful, as you can see behind me, beautiful sunshine. It's actually been quite wet again today, so I've had to kind of avoid getting the camera out, so I've not done all that much filming for you. But yeah, we've got sunshine now, and I think it's due to stay dry for the rest of the session, so at least it'll be pleasant even if we don't catch anything. But hopefully there's been a few tips along the way that you can put into your own fishing if you do come to Sandhurst. Solid bags can work, and they do work on here, but if the fish are being a bit finicky like they do seem to be at the moment, you've got to really scale everything down and fish tiny, tiny bags, tiny, tiny hook baits and small hooks. I've even gone down to a size 8 hook as well, so we'll see what happens. We've only put bags out, there's no free bait because the fish aren't really feeding. We're just looking to nick a bite, get it in the right zone, which I think we have done, haven't spoken to the bailiff, and hope for the best. So yeah, that's where we're up to. I'll keep you updated if anything happens, and hopefully throughout the course of the next sort of few hours and overnight we might have a fish to show you. There's been no more fish out to anyone today, so it is fishing slow. There's 17 of us on here, and there's been 5 fish out I think so far, but all of those were kind of last night and this morning, and then there's been nothing at all today. So bite time is a way off yet, but we are getting into that time as the light starts fading, so we may just get lucky. So keep watching, guys, and keep everything crossed that we're going to have a fish before the end of the session. Right guys, the last morning, and it's been a tough one for me, unfortunately. There's been a few fish out around the lake, but most people who have caught have only really had 1 fish. Just nicking bites really, just fishing the same tactics as me, small bags, little balance baits, and just putting them out there in that deeper water in the middle and just picking up the odd fish as they move through. So I've kind of fished sort of right tactics I think, but I've just not been lucky enough to get one to pick up my bait. So yeah, I've got to start packing up now. I've only got an hour really to get off the lake, so I haven't got much time to kind of get any footage for you guys, but you can see it's a nice clear sky behind me there. Got really cold last night, a lot colder than the first night, but the fish were still active, and a guy called Darren, about 3 swims down to my left, had a nice 23-pound common this morning, so they are still catchable. It's worth a trip to Sandhurst if you're thinking about it. But yeah, this swim hasn't produced for me. I was speaking to the bailiff yesterday, and he said that in previous winters this swim 11 has been quite productive, but he said this year it's just not really come to life yet, and a lot of the fish have been coming from the pipes and other areas of the lake, but swim 11 hasn't done a fish. So if I came again, maybe I'd try a different swim. But yeah, it's one of those things. I'm fishing the right tactics, but maybe I wasn't on the fish, and there wasn't really the option to move because obviously we've booked the lake exclusive and pretty much all the swims are taken, so there wasn't anything to move on to, so I just had to stick with it, and it hasn't paid off. But you know, I feel like I've fished well. I've tried a few things and it hasn't paid off, but that's fishing for you, and we all blank sometimes, and it is winter just before Christmas, so you know it's not going to be prolific fishing. You're looking for 1 or 2 fish if you're very, very lucky, and it hasn't happened, unfortunately. But yeah, I better get packed up now. Got to get back to the Isle of Wight, and then have a couple of weeks off the fishing, I think, over Christmas, and get back into it in the new year. So if you like my videos, guys, remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to keep the videos coming for you and keep the tips coming as well. Hopefully we'll get a few fish in the next video. But yeah, for now, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.